What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update. A few bits and pieces to get through today, starting off with Giovanni Lo Celso. As Damasio is reporting that Napoli want to sign Lo Celso on loan with an option to buy, but Tottenham want a mandatory purchase clause or a permanent transfer, which makes sense from both sides, to be honest. In terms of letting him go on loan with an option to buy, I mean, we've been there, we've done that for the past couple of years now with Lo Celso and a number of other players. So should we be willing to let that happen again?
I guess it depends how desperate we are to get rid of him. If we really see absolutely no future for him at Tottenham, which is probably the likelihood, and as well, if he really wants to leave, which is probably the likelihood, then I think we have to be open to a loan with an option to buy, because the other option is keeping him. So I don't, unless obviously it's a permanent deal. But if no one's prepared to do that, then you're kind of stuck. So I think maybe right now, as the transfer window is still in its infancy, kind of, because we still got 6 weeks to go. I guess you can have a bit of a hard line, but once we get down the line and know there's been no movement, you've got to be open to it eventually. It is interesting though. He is out on the tour. I'm guessing he's going to get some game time. Yeah, that's also true. But if it was that certain he was leaving, I guess, look, you could argue that with anyone about if they're going out the door or not. And I guess there are players who definitely are going to be leaving who are on the tour right now. But I guess it's interesting if he gets some game time. And I think at the moment, as much as there are definitely players who will be leaving who are on the tour, I think all bets are off at the moment in terms of who's actually going to be leaving, in my opinion, because I think Andrew's going to have a good look at all these players. They're all going to get some game time in the friendlies, and I think there might be some surprises. I think, I'm not saying there definitely will be for anyone we really don't expect, but who knows? Maybe Lo Celso really impress him, and maybe he'll think there's a second chance there. You never know, because I think you've got to be open to change at this point with a lot of these players. So I think there are going to be some change. There are going to be some surprises in who Ange maybe takes liking to, who we don't expect. But I guess also what comes into it is Lo Celso has not been happy at Tottenham. We know that himself. So maybe he's given up, but who knows?
Yeah, look, I don't think you're wrong at all. I think you're actually absolutely spot on that case. But like with the players like Giovanni Lo Celso and Ndombele, we know that these guys have quality. But I just hope it's not the same situation for the likes of Davinson Sanchez and Joe Rodon and all these kind of players, because we know they're not good enough. We know none of these defenders that we've got in the team, maybe apart from Romero, is not good enough. But I can kind of see where you're coming from for the likes of Lo Celso, maybe a Reguilon and a Tanguy and Ndombele, because we know that they've got quality. But we also know that a lot of these players that are on that tour don't have enough quality to stay at Tottenham.
Yeah, 100%. So hopefully, but again, we're going to be playing in a different way. I think a lot of the point with the defenders is we want to see a more attacking style of play at Tottenham, and I feel like personally that the defenders have kind of been preventing us from doing that, because whenever we go for like an attacking style of play under Conte and Mourinho, whenever we've tried to be more expansive, we've just been completely destroyed at the back because the defenders aren't capable of playing that high line. Case in point, for example, I remember under Jose, everyone was going banging on about, we need to play more attacking, we need to play more open. And I remember one game against Everton in the FA Cup, we played some beautiful football, we played some really attacking open football, and we lost 5-4 because the defenders just couldn't cope, because these defenders just weren't good enough. And I think a lot of the time, we've been hamstrung, whereas these attacking players like Ndombele and Lo Celso, I think it's a different case. They've kind of been hamstrung by the different kind of football we've been playing, and I think maybe we've played a more expansive, open style of play where they have options on the ball. How many times Ndombele under Mourinho, he would go past 2-3 players and he just wouldn't have options, and he would have to go backwards or something. And so I think that's why I'm willing to give them more of a go in a more attacking system, rather than these defenders who we know just aren't up to it if you're going to play a high line.
Yeah, look, I completely get it. I really do. But the way I think of it personally, I just would I know it might be a bit unrealistic, but me personally, I would just like to start afresh without the players that have been here and gone stale over the past couple of years. And that includes Lo Celso, that includes Ndombele, that includes all the defenders that we're talking about. But look, from Ange's point of view, I completely get it. He could just say all of them have a clean slate now, and whoever impresses me stays, whoever doesn't impress me goes. So, but we're running a fine line because, you know, once they come back from the tour, we've got 2 more friendlies until the start of the season, and then he's got a couple of weeks until the end of the transfer window. So there's not actually that much time left. There really isn't.
Yeah.
About a month and a half.
Unfortunately, I think the nature of the beast is we're going to have to start the season not with a lot of players' futures up in the air. And look, what you want in a perfect window is at the start of the season, everything's settled. Yes, you might have a few bits and pieces to do, but between now and the end of the window, but your core team is there, and you can kind of go ahead with it. And I just think, unfortunately, come the start of the season, a lot of our players' futures are still going to be up in the air, I think.
Yeah, probably right that. But let's move on. Let's talk about the defenders now and potential defenders coming in. And one name that is doing the rounds at the moment, which has done the rounds for a while, to be honest, not going to lie, his name is Joachim Andersen of Crystal Palace. Alan Nixon saying that Tottenham want to sign central defender Joachim Andersen from Crystal Palace during this summer transfer window. And head coach Ange Postecoglou is keen on the player and wants to bring him to the club this summer. I mean, what's happened to the defenders that were nearly over the line? What's happened to that?
They've gotten too expensive, probably. But I don't think Andersen makes too much sense to me because he predominantly plays on the right side of defence. So, and I don't think he's going to be particularly cheap. I would imagine. I don't think he's going to be like maybe Tapsoba price, but I can't see him being cheaper than say 25, 30 million. So I don't see him being cheaper than someone like Van de Ven for sure. So I don't see why we would buy him, like, because he's not going to be predominantly left. Also, I don't think he's particularly quick. So and him playing in a high line, there's already question mark. Obviously, I rate his ball playing ability. He's quite good with his passing out the back and stuff like that. But I just question the logic of if we were to go in for him because of price and where he plays. It doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't we just go for Van de Ven or Tapsoba?
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on. And I was very much in favour of getting Joachim Andersen when we had a Conte and when we had a Mourinho, because I thought he suited that system perfectly with what we wanted to do, with his ball playing ability, with his ability in the air. But now we're going for a much more kind of on the ground, front-footed, high pressing game and high line game. I don't really see the point of it. I mean, I'd prefer him in than someone like Clement Longley. I really would. But when you're looking at the Tapsobas of this world and the Van de Vens of this world, I mean, Joachim Andersen will just be a bit of a letdown, won't it?
I mean, you could argue. Let's say it's like, because the narrative is we're going to sign one of Van de Ven or Tapsoba, and then we're going to go for like Tosin or something. So if he's in the place of Tosin, I guess it's not bad, but he's going to be a lot more expensive. I know, but he's going to be a lot more expensive than Tosin as well. So I wouldn't understand the logic. And the only way I would kind of understand it in a way of improving the squad if he was replacing Eric Dyer, but I don't see that being the case. I don't think that's what's the situation. So I don't really understand the logic at all in this signing. Yeah, I don't get it.
Look, at the end of the day, it's only coming from one source at the moment, and I don't know how reliable Alan Nixon is or not, but none of the reliable journalists are really talking about this at the moment. So maybe it's not too much to think about right now.
Yeah, probably. I think that's probably the case.
But let's talk about Harry Kane in the last story today. And I don't know if you spoke about this in the update yesterday, but Harry Kane, there was some quotes from Ule Hoeneß, who I think is a director at Bayern Munich.
I believe he's the former president.
Former president of Bayern Munich. Yeah, that's correct. And he says Harry Kane was clearly signaled that his decision was made. If he keeps his word, we'll sign him. Tottenham will have to give up. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge speaks to him regularly. What he really liked about Kane, his agents, his father, brother, they're all very pleasant people. So far, Kane's camp always stood by their promise. If that stays the case, then it's okay. Daniel Levy is clever. First, we have to get him to name a price. He's playing for time. He's a great professional. I appreciate him very much. But on the other side, Bayern, there aren't people who have been doing this since yesterday. But then there was a bit of a follow-up from that today. And Sport are reporting that the offensive statements by Uli Hoeneß about Harry Kane were not well received by Bayern and are classified by people involved as unfortunate and unnecessary. So is he meddling in affairs where he shouldn't be meddling?
Yeah, would say so. I definitely think he stepped over the line in going so public in what was being said. Also, I don't know how he is in the negotiations. He's probably, obviously, he's well connected in Bayern, having been the former president. I'm sure he's in contact all the time with executives and directors there. I don't think he's the one in direct communication with Kane and in direct negotiations or anything like that. So I don't know what level he's heard and what kind of information he's getting. So I don't know how accurate what he says. I don't know what promises Kane has made to Bayern Munich and if he's keeping them or whatever. I don't know what he's alluding to. But I think coming out so publicly is only going to do one thing, and that's piss off Tottenham. And it's only going to make the deal harder to do, in my opinion. So I think unless his idea was to try and put pressure on Spurs and again give off this narrative that Kane is going to push to leave and it's destined to happen and try and basically will it into existence, I think was a stupid move. And I think Daniel Levy ain't going to take too kindly to public statements like that and trying to push the transfer through and lower the price essentially.
Do you think, we've gone on record, both of us, saying we don't think Kane's going to push the move. We don't think Bayern are going to hit the level that Daniel Levy wants in terms of a transfer. Do you think there's just a bit too much noise about this at the moment and it's a bit of an inevitability, or do you still think the same as what you were thinking before?
I don't look, the noise coming from the Bayern side, they want this deal to happen. They're trying to push for it. I'm sure they've got some positive signs from the Kane team and from Kane himself that he's willing to make the move. But I don't think that, unfortunately, it doesn't make it any more likely unless they up the offer to 100 million. They haven't got anywhere close to that at the moment. So they can will it as much as they like, unless Kane is really going to kick up a fuss. And at the moment, he's out in Australia. He seems to be doing everything the right way. He doesn't seem to be causing too much issues. And so he's being a leader out in Australia for the team. All it is just a lot of the Bayern journalists and Bayern executives just talk. And a lot of bark with no bite at the moment. The offers that have come in have been substantially lower than what Tottenham want. So I don't think at the moment that it's likely the deal's going to go through unless Bayern change up their bid, essentially put their money where their mouth is. At the moment, they're not doing that. So I don't see anything changing. They're trying to lower the bid, maybe put some public pressure on Tottenham potentially. But Kane hasn't anyway at the moment. I can't remember what the situation last time went under Nuno. Did he go on pre-season? Oh, because it's Euros, wasn't it? So I don't think he came on pre-season.
He came back late, didn't he? Because of the Euros. And they didn't. Right. They didn't go on a pre-season tour because of COVID and stuff. They stayed in England and played against lower league teams.
That's right. So it was a bit of a different situation. Maybe he would have gone on tour if there was a tour last time, but he obviously there was a convenient excuse. But he seems to be doing everything the right way. Look, if he comes back from Australia and then starts kicking up a fuss, I guess that'll be telling. But at the moment, I don't think there's any indication he's going to do that.
Are you any more worried that maybe Bayern will stump up the cash at some point in this window?
It doesn't worry me if they stump up the cash, then at least we'll have that money to really go for someone this summer. So it doesn't worry me too much. It would be sad, but if they stump up the cash, then fair enough. I've accepted that if they stump up the cash and Kane leaves, that's a fair situation. But I'm just worried about this saga dragging on with into the season when the season starts and it's still not being resolved. And that's what I'm worried about more, to be honest.
Fair enough. And I think, I kind of agree, but I am worried, if Bayern stump up the cash, because as much as I've been saying that, I think it's preferable to sell him now as opposed to letting him go on a free and all this worrying going on till next season. I'm extremely worried about life without Kane and where Spurs are going to be and how we can move forward without Kane, because it's a massive going into the unknown, going through a season or a couple of seasons, 3 seasons without the guy who has literally carried us for the past 2-3 seasons. It's a massive worry to me.
It is a worry, of course. How can it not be when he was your best player? And you only got to look at when we lost Bale and how long it took us to get over that kind of thing. But you also got to remember that in the get like ever since even when Kane's been a main player for us, even when games he's been not playing, it's not like we massively missed him. Like results have been still pretty good. Like other players have stepped up, and you just got a bank that would sign a good replacement, and other players as well will step up in that event. Unfortunately,
for a while, though, Sim. That hasn't happened for a while. The last time
it's because he's played every game. That's not because, but that's because he's played every game. It's not because we've been bad when he hasn't played.
It's like under Jose Mourinho when Kane was out. I know we had other injuries at that time as well. Like we completely fell flat on our faces. The only time where we actually looked convincing when Kane was out was at the peak time under Pochettino.
Exactly, and that's hopefully what we're trying to get back to, an attacking kind of playing style. The big worry, I guess, for me is that we're losing him at a time where our stock isn't very high. So, getting someone like a Lautaro Martinez, where maybe if we were in Champions League, that might have been possible. Like, that's probably off the table right now. So, who we can replace him with is a bit of a concern, to be honest, yeah. But look, teams move on. We're going to have to move on from eventually. If it is this summer, it's also going to break my heart. But I do think under Ange, we've got some good attackers around surrounding Kane as well. And I think if we can get a good replacement, obviously it will hurt us, but I don't think it's going to mean we're in mid-table mediocrity just because we're losing Kane, in my opinion.
Without Kane, I don't know, man. I think without Kane next season, I think right now where I'm looking at to finish next season is probably 6th place. I think is probably where we're at. But if we don't have Kane, I don't know. I dread to think where we're going to finish next season. I really do, because just look at what he provided for us over the last couple of seasons. He's been hands down the best player in the Premier League, never mind the best player in Tottenham over the last 2 seasons, in my opinion. So I don't know. I think it's going to hold us back massively without Harry Kane. But having said that, the only way to move forward is to start planning now and to start getting in some targets and to start building the team. And hopefully we can start doing that.
Yeah. Look, we're gonna have to, but we have to replace him. Who knows who we'll replace him with? I don't know. I don't know right now who that player would be. But like, it doesn't mean just because if Kane's missing, it's not like we're playing with 10 players. Like we're going to replace him.
With Kane playing, we're playing with like 12 players.
I know it's different. Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I know. Look, of course, he's the best striker in Europe, but losing that quality ain't going to be easy. But look, if you're getting 100 million, hopefully you can spend it on someone.
Anyway, that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all the news stories we brought to you today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.